Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me spend a couple of minutes with you today. You might be wondering why I'm standing in the woods. Well, this is my comfort zone. And you might be wondering why a comfort zone is has anything to do with greatness. Well, let me explain that. But first, if you are listening to the audio only portion of this, you might want to check out the video portion on YouTube or Rumble or the TNN network and check that video out because there's leaves falling. It's fall of the year. It's kind of cool out here today. A little cloudy, but that's okay. I've always been more comfortable in the woods than anywhere else. I spent a large part of my life in the woods, usually in the mountains, and most of the time on horseback with a dog. Susie's running around here somewhere. I'm not sure where she's at right now, but she's probably chasing squirrels. And that's okay. That's what she's bred for. You might also hear some hickory nuts falling. There's a tin roof not far from me, so they're here too. I have a page of notes here because I need to remember what I was going to say, right? I was at an appointment the other day in town, and they had this little sign, not very big, just a little sign, and it said, "You will never achieve greatness while you're in your comfort zone." And there's a lot of truth to that. There really is a lot of truth to that. But here's the thing. Regular listeners are, there's those nuts falling. Regular listeners will know that I often say our Creator will never leave you in your comfort zone. And there's truth to that too. We look around and we see that. But the word comfort in the Bible, or comfortable in the Bible, gives us a different idea of what comfort zone is. There's Susie there. She might show up. It gives us a different idea of what we see and what we're looking at. Get down, sweetie. Get down. The word comfort or comfortable is actually defined as a place of rest. Now, while I was always comfortable in the woods, I was usually working at the same time. It wasn't always out here just kind of goofing off like I do now. Most of my work is done either that's live video. You get the leaves that come between me and you, right? Working in the woods is different than just being out for a walk, right? Now, there are people whose comfort zone is the beach, and that's fine too. But your comfort zone is typically going to be where you're resting, where you're contemplating, where you go to kind of get away from all of the hustle and bustle of your regular work. What does that mean for believers? Well, for believers, resting, the day of rest, Shabbat, the Sabbath. Think about that. Because when we think about that, what do we consider? Well, the day of rest, the weekly Sabbath, is the first feast day mentioned in Leviticus 23. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you look at Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13 and 14, it reads, "If you turn your foot from breaking the Sabbath," in other words, if you observe the Sabbath, "from doing as you please on my holy day." Did you get that? If you observe the Sabbath, don't do what you please on my holy day, God's holy day. "If you call the Sabbath a delight and the Lord's day honorable, if you honor it by not going your own way or seeking your own pleasures or speaking idle words, then you will delight yourself in the Lord, and I will make you ride high on the heights of the land and feed you with the heritage of your father Jacob." Think about that. God himself if we honor the Sabbath, God himself will allow you to ride on the heights of the land. That's a metaphor for saying God himself will make you great. But he doesn't say you got to stay there. He doesn't say, oh, you just sit down and I'll take care of making you great. No, 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 you got to get up. You got to go do things. You see, it's a term of condition. Christians fail to read Matthew 5:19 in context. It says, so then, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do likewise will be called least in the kingdom. But whoever practices them, whoever does the commandments, in other words, and teaches others to do them, they will be called great in the kingdom. Now, where does he get this from? Well, there's a lot of places he could have drawn it from, but I like to go to Daniel. Everybody knows that. Daniel 12:3 says, the wise will shine like the brightness of heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever and ever. Now that is greatness. We think back in the Bible and we see Abraham. Abraham, I believe, is in chapter 18, says, I will make you a great nation. But Abraham himself, what did he do? He displayed his faith to others. Abraham was a great person of faith. Abraham understood what faith was, even to the point of being ready to give up Isaac. Abraham not only showed great faith, but he showed greatness in other ways. Abraham showed how great of a military leader he was when he took the 318 men who served him and went and rescued Lot. He didn't stay in his tent. He wasn't comfortable all the time. He wasn't resting all the time. He got up and went and did things. And that's what that sign meant. You will never find greatness in yourself if all you're doing is resting all the time. If all you're doing is sitting back, waiting for something to happen. Sometimes you have to go make things happen. Sometimes we need to be the ones who say, I need to do this in order to get that. If I want to see a result, I can't sit back and talk about it. I have to go apply that knowledge. I have to do something with it. That's what Abraham did. That's what Moses did. That's what Noah did. And that's what we can do today. If you want to be great, and let's bring this back just a little bit. If you want to be called great in the kingdom, you have to live the way we're designed to live. You have to apply that knowledge and do those things that other people can see and say, I don't know what it is that he's doing. I don't know what it is that she's got, but I want some of it. I got to have that. I got to know what makes them who they are. And that is the knowledge. That is applying that knowledge with wisdom, because you are displaying, and I don't like to say this way, you're displaying righteousness. And that might make you sound like, oh, I got to wear a suit and a tie all the time. No, you don't. No, you don't. I am quite certain Abraham never wore a suit and tie. Now, he may have dressed nicely because he was a very wealthy man, but at the same time, there were times that he had to go to work, right? You know, he knew how to put on his work clothes and go to work. Noah, building the ark, probably, he probably didn't wear a suit and tie to his job every day either when he was building the ark. But here's the other aspect of that. When it came time to rest, to find their place of comfort, they took a day. And that's what they did. And it rejuvenated them for the rest of the week. It held them over. It gave them purpose. It gives you that opportunity to sit back and think, yeah, this needs to be done, that needs to be done, but that's for tomorrow. That's for the rest of the week. Right now, This is my time to rest. This is my time to be comfortable. And then I can get up, get out of my comfort zone, and go somewhere else and accomplish great things. And it doesn't matter if you're a student in school, you can accomplish great things. If you are a doctor, if you are, pick your occupation, you can accomplish great things. Especially if you're living the way you're designed to live and you show that to other people. If you express yourself in a way that glorifies our Creator, you can do great things. I had the opportunity to speak to someone who started out in a position where they didn't know if what they were going to try would work. But today that person is reasonably famous for a few reasons. They have a couple of books too, and people read them often. And that's not the only example of people I know. I know someone who started out as a simple electrical engineer. They became vice president of a major communications company. I know other people who started out much like I did, grew up on a farm, but they didn't stay in their comfort zone. They got out. And the one I'm thinking of grew a really great business. Had the opportunity to work for him for a little bit of time. He and his wife together worked that business 6 days a week. And on one day they rested. And it rejuvenated them for the rest of the week. What's your excuse? Are you staying in your comfort zone, or are you getting out and doing things? Now, this is my comfort zone, right? It doesn't have to be yours, but this is mine. I don't have the chance to stay here as much as I want, because sometimes I have to get behind my computer and I have to study things. I have to write things out. I have to go places and research things, talk to people. That's not my comfort zone. And I'm not saying that those things are going to make me great. My family thinks they do, but I don't. Other people don't. And that's okay. Because the only person that I need to show greatness from, the person I receive my greatness from, is not myself. It's not even my listeners. Not the people who watch my videos. It's not always my family. But it is my Creator. That's where my greatness comes from. That's where everything comes from. But He's not going to say, I'm going to make you great if you stay in the woods all the time, is He? Because I have to get out just like Abraham did, just like Noah did, and I have to do things. If you want to achieve greatness, live the way you're designed to live, display your application of biblical principles to the people around you. That will make you great, because you will be called great in the kingdom. Something to think about until next time. And until then, I do wish you many blessings, everyone.